Hi, welcome to another episode of Diary of a Real Girl. So last week we started speaking to the millennial woman. And this week we continue our discussion describing the millennial woman as a mom. Yes, and we feature today the testimony of Miss Jewelle Maynard-Roberts. And she talks about her experience having her baby prematurely at 25 weeks and how she would have missed her father's funeral and all the emotions and trauma and experience that came from that, and how she would have emerged out of it through the presence and the glory of God.
Hi, I'm Jewelle Maynard-Roberts, and this is my real girl testimony. Psalm 147 verse 3 says, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." I became a Christian at around age 15. And by 2008, I was studying in Trinidad, and I began to feel that God was calling me to something greater, to something higher, to more for Him. I kind of ignored it at the time, and then in 2014, that call came again. I really felt as though God wanted me to do more for Him in ministry. I decided to say yes, and from the moment I said yes to that, everything in my life went crazy. The years after 2014 were incredibly difficult for me as I journeyed through one heartbreak after another. During that time, I had job changes, job losses between my husband and myself. I was in the United States because my son was in the neonatal intensive care unit of a New York hospital, and I had to remain by his bedside. I could not attend my father's funeral and see him buried. My dad was just one of 8 family members that we lost over an 18 months period between 2014 and 2016, between my husband and myself. We were also in accidents. We also lost our vehicles. My son was diagnosed with autism. There was so much trauma and so much loss in that time, and during that period of heartbreak, for me, it became more and more difficult. I found as the years progressed, it became more and more difficult for me to maintain my mental and emotional health. And I was a good Christian, at least I tried to be. I tried to do everything that I ought to do. I prayed, I fasted, I went to church, I did ministry, and nothing changed. I became pregnant, and it was a really challenging pregnancy. I was sad, I was anxious, I was angry most days. I didn't sleep, I had insomnia. My husband's place of work, that closed down at the beginning of my pregnancy. I also had to reduce my work due to the circumstances of my pregnancy in order to make sure that I brought my child to term. I had to do less work, and with a new baby on the way and no new plan in sight, it was like, God, what are you doing? What's happening next for us? Once again, there I am, and I'm thrown into another season of emotional struggle. Time passed, I gave birth successfully, and after I gave birth, I really struggled to adjust to life as a mother of 2. And it felt as though the grief of all the past years, all of the loss and all the trauma, all the things that I had been through, I felt as though it just came crashing down on me in that time, as though I bore all of it all at once. And I felt a real deep sense of shame about my inability to manage. I felt as though mothers everywhere were functioning and managing with their children, and for some reason I was the only one who could not cope. I felt like I couldn't cope with life, and I asked myself, why? Why can't I not cope? Why can't I just figure out how to manage, how to get it done, how to do what I've always done and manage with my 2 kids? Why can't I figure out how to feel happy or how to feel better in this season of my life? And I began to question the value of my life. I began to ask myself, if I can't cope with this, what is the point of me being alive at all? What is the point of me being here? Perhaps I should not even be present in this life if I'm unable to cope. And for those of you who've ever been there, that is a very, very dark place to be. It's it's really a place of shadow, a real dismal place. And when I was in that dark place, feeling as though I had no hope and I had no light, glory be to God, God showed up. And he showed me Psalm 23. And Psalm 23 says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. You know, God began to say to me, you will not die in this valley. You will not die here in this place of darkness. You will not die here in this place where you feel as though you have no hope. Your pain is not going to overcome you. It is not going to overtake you. And I was just so glad for the faithfulness and the goodness of God, for his mercy, because he began to show me during that time that I was drowning in my pain. God began to reveal to me there was a lot of hurt that I needed to address. I was carrying a lot of hurt from the trauma that I had just been through in the season from 2014 till now, but I was also carrying some pain of the distant past, pain dating back to my childhood, pain dating back to things that were done to me during my growing up years. I was swimming in a pool of my tears, and I was filled by my bitterness, by my disappointments, by all of my regrets. And he said to me, forgiveness is your lifeline. Forgiveness will rescue you from the ocean of pain that you are swimming in. God is so good that he could show up and bring this message to me. The first thing he showed me was that I needed to forgive God. I was angry at him. You see, I felt that God took everything away from me. I felt as though all those losses were his fault. All of my life changes were his fault. I felt that he took away my career. I felt that he changed my status. I felt that he lowered me in the eyes of others. I felt that certain opportunities that did not materialize were because of him. I was angry about my son's diagnosis and carried a lot of pain concerning that. I also had to forgive myself. He showed me that I carried shame, regret, guilt about things that were not even my fault. There were many things that were not even in my own control that I was carrying the pain about. I was my own worst critic, and I was swimming in my self-judgment, in my insecurity. I expected to be judged by others and to be judged harshly, and as a result, I erected walls around myself to save myself from the self-judgment and the criticism of others. He showed me that he has grace for my failings and that I can give myself some grace. I had to accept his forgiveness for me. And then he showed me that I also needed to forgive others. He showed me that there were so many things that I still carried in my heart. I was holding on to past hurts caused by other people. And the scripture tells us that we ought to guard our heart because everything that we do flows from it. And what I found was that because I was carrying all this unforgiveness, all this bitterness, all this anger, what was in my heart began to pour out to the others around me. It began to pour out to the people closest to myself. And that same forgiveness that I took for myself, I now had to offer to the people around me. I now had to offer to the people from the past, the recent past and the distant past. I had to release all of their wrongs against me so that I could be free, so that I could experience God's healing working to sew up my heart. Today, I'm here seated to tell you that I am healed and I am restored. I still have some tough days and some rough days now and then because I'm only human. But God has truly exchanged my sorrow for joy. He has truly taken my mourning and he has given me gladness. I hope that as I have shared this testimony, as I've told you my story, I really hope that somebody is finding hope. somebody is finding joy, somebody's realizing that God is faithful and that He is God who heals the brokenhearted and who sews up every single wound. He makes all things new again. Wherever you are, whatever kind of pain you're handling, whatever kind of hurt you have been dealing with and you are going through, it may seem impossible to recover. It may seem like there's no way to bounce back, but I want to assure you that God is able. I'm Jewelle Maynard-Roberts, and this has been my Real Girl Testimony. Bye.
Thank you. I hope that was an inspiration for you. You know, we are the action generation. We are the generation that are having children. We are the generation that are seeking out mortgages and setting up homes and establishing families. And, you know, we are really greatly impacted by what's happening around us. I would encourage you to watch our last video that speak about the things that are affecting us as millennial women, hosted by me, myself, and Miss Jalicia about our Realness Campaign. We want to offer 5 deserving ladies the opportunity to have a makeup session and a mini photo shoot. You know, just to give them some upliftment and encouragement in this time when we've seen so many hardships in and out of this pandemic. So you can nominate someone and send in your submissions to diary.ofarealgirl1@gmail.com. Yes, I'll put that in the description. It is a lot. I'll put it in the description for you. And I just want to encourage you to continue on this journey with us in the Diary of a Real Girl. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on your notification bell so you don't miss when we post a new video.